Hit it.
We are the Ewoks. Sorry, folks. We're gonna have a new intro today.
It's
It's gonna scare
worse.
everyone away.
It's a lot
That's what we
worse.
should do for the.
Spoiler
the
alert.
it's definitely downgrade. Like, yeah, several levels. Welcome to This Endorian Life, a Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and we're following the Ewoks from Return of the Jedi to the Ewok TV movies and the 80s cartoon.
And beyond.
That's right. That's right.
So today we're talking about season 1, episode 6 of the Ewoks cartoon, The Tree of Life. This episode originally aired on television when we were wee boys, October 12th, 1985.
That's when it was. This episode was compiled along with 3 others for the VHS compilation. No DVD release of this one. But on VHS, it was Ewoks 3, Wicket the Hero. Arguably, Wicket was a problem in this episode, but we'll allow it. We'll allow it.
He had one moment.
He did.
Well, he had 2 moments. Well, he had 1.5.
Few
Let's go with
moments of
that.
weakness. Written again by Bob Carew, who of course wrote Caravan of Courage and several episodes of the series so far. Directed by Ken Stevenson and Raymond De Felice. I thought I would pull out Dan Hennessy today as our cast spotlight. He plays King Gornishi. King Gornish of the Dulaks. This man has a legendary career. He is...
Yes.
He's en fuego, Steve. He's been in every cartoon.
I know.
He was Braveheart Lion in Care Bears. He was Chief Quimby in Inspector Gadget. He was Father Bear in Little Bear, and so many more. So many more. I wanted to shout out our friends over at Previously on X-Men, right here on the Radio Meanwhile Network, because he did lots of voice work for X-Men the Animated Series, including the recurring character Ruckus. And seriously, if you watch cartoons in the last 30 years, you've heard this man's voice.
I know, it's crazy. And you know what's funny? That I know, I'll know his voice from Care Bear.
Just
of
Care
all
Bears?
those
Yeah.
things, it's the Care Bear. Because of my
Yeah.
kids, you know.
Yeah, sure.
That's how I know.
Yeah.
So I'm beginning to think, though, that Bob Carew
Yeah.
really only knows how to write things that have to do with a caravan
Could be.
or a group of travelers.
That's right. Yeah, he's a
Right?
big fantasy guy.
That's what he knows.
Yeah.
You know, if we ever need anything done like that, you know, I'll know who to
I think you
call.
will. I think you
you
will.
know.
Look, I don't want to spoil anything, but the Ewok leadership really needs to make some long-term plans. Because everything they do is like, guys, we're going to die in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Unless you children go on a very dangerous journey and save our lives. It's just like, look at a calendar. Look at a calendar. I just can't.
And I got to be honest, this is the closest they've been to complete doom.
Yeah.
Like I know a few episodes back, right? I'm skipping over the Jinda's episode.
Yeah.
The episode where they needed to what did they need to? Oh no, that was only for Deej, though, right? They only needed to get that stuff for Deej. So yeah, it was only he was in doom and peril, but not as close as the entire planet of Endor as it was in this episode. Yeah, so I agree completely. They really need to do some projecting on responsibilities and really who should be carrying them out. Let's be honest.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I wanted to mention a Twitter poll. So remember, you can always follow us on Twitter at Endorian Life. Also, we're on Facebook. But we put out there last week, who's your favorite Ewok aside from Wicket? And the options were Nisa, Logray, Chief Chirpa, and Latara. And so there's still a few hours left in the poll, but I'm going to tell you right now what our standings are. Coming in at dead last, we have Nisa with 0% of the votes.
Oof.
So that's
Princess Nisa.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Coming in second place with 12.5% of the votes, we have Chief Chirpa.
Ooh,
Chief Chirpa. And this is another thing that confuses me. I guess I thought Chief Chirpa was like in charge, and Logray was just like the medicine man. But
it kind of is, isn't that what it is?
But it also kind of seems like Logray's just in charge.
So I guess, but it's like the dynamic of like King Gornish and the shaman,
I guess
right?
So.
That
I guess you're right.
They kind of, or like Kirk and McCoy.
Yes.
You know.
Okay. So anyway, Nisa's dead last. We have Chief Chirpa next. The next one after that, we have Latara with 37.5% of the vote. And with a commanding lead, we have Logray with 50%.
Wow.
50% of the vote. So Logray's the fan favorite when you take Wicket out of the equation.
He is so cool when he talks like this, though.
You have to hurry up. The whole world's depending on you.
Anyway. Oh, I sprinkled some magic dust on that Twitter poll, and I won.
All right, Steve, tell us what happens in the Tree of Light, because I watched it.
All right.
I need to know. I need clarification.
All right. You ready for my uber detailed plot of Season 1, Episode 6, The Tree of Light?
Take us in.
Dark winds plague the Ewok village as they prepare for a journey to the Tree of Light. The tradition of this journey is the young males of the village carry the sacred dust to the Tree of Light. Nisa protests to Chief Chirpa that the tradition is unfair to girls. Wicket, being too young, also is not able to join the young men, and he too expresses frustration. Chirpa reminds the travelers to make haste as the dark winds mean that the Tree of Light is fading fast. Logray hands Weechi a vial of magic dust that will restore the tree if they sprinkle it on the soil at its base. If the tree is not restored in time, the evil night spirit will gain too much power. Logray hands the group one last piece of equipment, a magic lantern that will lead them to the tree and also keep them safe on the dangerous journey. The group sets off as the younger Ewoks complain about being left behind. In the Dulak camp, King Gornish delights at the terrible, stormy, windy weather as his shivering shaman reluctantly agrees. Knowing the Tree of Light is weak, they plot to tear it down so that Endor may be ruled by the terrible night spirit. Since the last time they tried this failed, Gornish decides to take on the task himself as long as the shaman delays the Ewoks. The Caravan of Ewoks find themselves taking quite a creepy path to the Tree of Light. Willie trails behind and is spooked by a large shadow. His fear sends the whole group running. Once clear of the creepy trail, Willie tells the tale of what he saw. Believing they outran whatever it was, they are instructed by the magic lantern to cross a very rickety-looking rope bridge spanning a deep gorge with an icy river below. Willie is once again spooked and drops the magic lantern as he frightfully runs across the bridge. The creature Willie is so afraid of ends up being Wicket, which is perfect because he manages to catch the toppling lantern before it can fall into the gorge below. Weechi reluctantly allows Wicket to stay with them. The magic lantern leads the Ewok caravan to the Arbo Maze, a place Tebow says where many an Ewok has been lost. The group is reminded that the magic lantern should lead them through safely, but Weechi boasts he doesn't need it and sets off inside the maze. Meanwhile, two Dulaks, the shaman and his younger companion, spot them heading inside the maze and pose a plan to pass the Ewoks inside the maze and set a trap for them on the other side. Confused, the young Dulak asks how they will get through the maze. The shaman has been preparing for this for some time and pulls out a pair of special glasses he made that will show him the way. It's hard to believe it will work, especially after he walks straight into a nearby tree. Inside the maze, Paplu and Weechi argue about who is the leader and which way they should go, despite Wicket reminding them they should just follow the lantern's direction. Paplu doesn't listen and decides which way to go foolishly using a blind decision-making technique. You know, the eeny, meeny, miny, mo. At this moment, Nisa and Latara make it to the entrance of the Arbo Maze. Apparently, they too have been following the caravan this whole time. Weechi and Paplu continue to argue about which way to go as the Dulaks encounter the same issues after the special glasses the shaman made break. Implementing Plan B, the shaman procures a net coated in super sticky Ganga sap that will stop the Ewoks in their tracks. Latara and Nisa are also lost in the maze and suddenly run into the Dulaks. The Dulaks chase the girls with the sticky net but accidentally get themselves stuck in their own trap. At this moment, the Ewok caravan discover Nisa and Latara and ask them why they're even there. They make excuses, but eventually admit they too just want to prove themselves like the rest. Paplu tells them to follow him, but the girls aren't convinced he knows the way. Once again, Wicket speaks up, saying the lantern has shown the right way the whole time, and the group listens this time, and eventually they make it out of the maze. The next part of their trip is perilous, as they have to cross the Valley of Floating Trees to reach the Tree of Light on the other side. The Ewoks furnish some oars and begin to row themselves on a floating tree across the sky of the deep, deep valley. In the distance, they spot the Mountain of Light where the Tree of Light rests. Willie, on the other hand, spots floating trees gaining on them from behind. He thinks they may be friendly, but Weechi knows what's going on. It's Gornish and his Dulak horde attempting to ram into them. They crash into the Ewoks, board their floating tree, and tie them up. Gornish steals the magic dust, and the Ewoks protest in frustration. Before the Dulaks pull away, Wicket manages to break free of his bonds and frees Nisa as well. They quickly stow away on the departing Dulak's floating tree. Eventually, the rest of the Ewoks break free, but find their oars have been smashed. Thinking quickly, Weechi decides to use their blankets as sails. They make it to the base of the Mountain of Light, where they find the rest of the Dulak's abandoned trees. They hope that Wicket and Nisa have managed to stall the Dulaks. Not thinking about how to stop, they crash into the base of the mountain, which only inflames the conflict between Weechi and Paplu. At the top of the mountain, the Dulaks attempt to pull down the Tree of Light. Nisa and Wicket surprise Gornish, and he begins to chase them. In the ensuing chase, Nisa manages to grab the vial of magic dust from Gornish. She quickly tosses the vial to Wicket, and he runs off to save the tree. Furious, Gornish chases after him. The rest of the Ewoks make it to the tree and see Dulaks furiously chasing Wicket. Wicket manages to evade capture by the Dulaks as they end up thwarting their own chase by running into each other. Wicket throws the vial of magic dust onto the decaying roots of the Tree of Light. Suddenly, the tree becomes full of brilliant light. The dusty ground around it is restored to rich, full grass. Flowers bloom all around the Ewoks, and they happily cheer as the Tree of Light has been completely restored. The Dulak shaman and his companions, still trapped in their sticky net, finally make it to the base of the mountain. They both wonder why everything is getting brighter, before being completely trampled by the entire Dulak clan, making a swift retreat. Back at the Ewok village, Chief Chirpa awards each original member of the caravan a silver feather for their bravery. Next, he expresses his grave disappointment in Wicket, Nisa, and Latara for disobeying him. However, he admits he has no choice but to also prevent the three a silver feather for their bravery as well. The Ewok tribe rejoices. Roll credits.
Kind of like in Star Trek 4 where Kirk and the gang get in trouble for disobeying orders, but then he's like, your punishment is to be captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah.
Similar vibe.
It's so true. It's kind of like,
yeah. Oh, okay.
I mean, they did save the planet.
I agree. Yeah, mistakes were made, sure, but a planet was saved. So they deserve that white feather.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Silver feather? Like, really? That's... You couldn't have given me a hut or at least my own tree, something like that.
Yeah, a pair of pants, maybe. I don't know.
A pair of pants. This is low grade. Thank you for saving the planet. You'd think at least more people would be there,
right?
At the celebration of, saving the planet.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Or at least make it easier to get there. Jeez.
Yeah.
Like, why not have a contingent of Ewoks there? That's all I'm saying. Just make sure.
Send out some invites. This is a big deal, people.
With their own magic dust.
Well, I think already.
So tell me.
Yeah, I think we're in a better place than we were in the previous episode. I had a good time with this one.
Oh, absolutely. This one felt like a Ewok
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
right?
I still
Even though it
feel
kind of
like,
assimilated
yeah.
it was still similar, but it's still like the timeline needed to be met.
Yeah.
It was the underdog group, went to go
Yeah.
complete the thing rather than sending their let's be honest, to save the whole planet. You'd
Right.
want to send like your best
Send a bunch
guys.
of people. Yeah. And maybe more than one little vial of powder to throw on it.
Yeah, give them each a vial
Yeah.
of
Just a
powder. Yeah.
couple. Have a couple extras. And again,
Yeah.
don't wait until the day of, I think I
Yeah.
can't stress that enough. But I feel like series wise, I feel like they're making a mistake not really having like a clear lead. You know, like
Hmm.
I guess I
Yeah.
remembered. I don't. Maybe the second season is more like this. I honestly don't know. But I guess I remembered like Wicket and Nisa sort of being like the leads, and then there were other
Yeah.
supporting characters. But this is really, I mean, Wicket always shows up, but he's not really a developed character. It's very ensemble-y in a way that I think like doesn't really connect with kids because I
Yeah.
don't even know. Like most of the time, I'm like, I don't know which Ewok this is. It's
Hmm.
not that they look the same; they're just not that distinct in their personalities. So I have to sort of be like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, so they're brothers. You know, I have to go through it every time.
I know I need to watch it when I watch
Yeah,
it and
with
I
captions.
write this
Yeah,
because I got to think about the names. I have to do it with the subtitles on
yeah,
because sometimes it'll tell me who's talking. I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah,
Like the whole time I was like, I don't know what Ewok that was, and it was Paplu.
yeah.
I was like, holy smokes! Like I didn't know till halfway through the episode when he
That's what I
says
mean.
Paplu like one time, and I was like, oh my gosh.
I just,
So.
like everything that came before it, Return of the Jedi, the two movies, you have Wicket,
Hmm.
and then you have a couple like Logray, for example, and a few others that sort of distinguish themselves. But Wicket is not clearly like the lead of this series, and I really think it would be a
Hmm.
lot better if he was. If like
I
he
feel like
was
he
the character
should
we were.
be.
He should be. Yeah.
He should be, and the thing is, they need when you have a show like this, you need like five solid episodes to establish who your lead is, and then
Yeah.
how everyone works around that, right?
Exactly. Even in
And
something simple like a cartoon, you still need that. You
yes,
still need that basic skeleton, and they just don't have it here.
yeah, and then you start injecting those like, oh, this episode's about Latara, this
Yeah.
episode's about Nisa, or this
Yeah.
episode's about Deej. They spread it out too quickly. So
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
when it works the best. So for my money, to Save Deej and this one, Tree of Light, are the best
yeah,
of the series so far, and I think they both sort of play like mini movies. You know what I
hmm,
mean? Like you're not really
yeah,
establishing anything about the characters going forward. It's like this is like there's one quest that they have to go on, and once that's over, it's sort of like restart.
yeah. Then they
So
win. If they win, if they
yeah,
do it in time, they win, and that's the
yeah,
end of the
and
movie.
that's it,
It's the end.
right? So
But
I don't know.
I think to save Deej was better because the stakes were high for specific
Right.
characters, the
Well,
three
when
brothers. Rather, this one was just like a group of guys
yeah,
went out, and it's just like it could have been
it could
anyone,
have.
you
Yeah.
know.
And I think that
So,
you made the point of Into Save D's. You were saying like that was like a family story, and so that was a little bit
hmm,
more like you could kind of relate to it a little better. It was like, yeah, they got to go save their dad. Here, it's like, yeah, a bunch of randos have to go save the entire world. You know,
yeah, a big
so
deal. Let's go send the teens. Like,
yeah,
are you kidding
kind
me?
of
Like,
strange.
jeez.
It was kind of strange. We had another instance of Yub Nub being used as like, hurry up.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm not down with that.
It's they've taken like a 180 with that. Like it now it just can, kind of mean
Yeah,
anything.
it's their
It
slur for
really,
the guys.
you know.
But I think they're mostly using it as like, hurry up or come on, dummy.
Yeah.
We did have a new insult where the guys in the I don't know, Weechi and it's not Willie. Who's Weechi fighting with in the
Paplu. He's fighting
Paplu?
with
Okay.
Paplu. Yeah.
Weechi and Paplu, a lot of toxic masculinity in that cave, is all
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying. They're just really like, yeah, bro, yeah.
Yeah.
So it gets intense there. But
Yeah,
Paplu
I know
calls
which way to
him
go.
Lurdo. He's like, yeah, I
Lurdo.
know what you mean,
Yeah, I've heard
Lurdo.
that.
Which I sort of
Lurdo.
took to mean like lard ass.
Totally.
That's what it felt like when he said it. Like the way he delivered that line, I was like, okay,
Oh
no,
man, yeah,
wow,
right at it.
okay, dropping that Ewokian gauntlet.
It just passed right over him too, like it didn't
Yeah.
even phase him. Like, okay,
So even though in a way this was kind of paint by numbers, you have the Dulocs and you have just like you said, a caravan of people like going on this big thing. I just enjoyed it a little bit better. I thought the
Yeah,
Dulocs were used better. They weren't just like, "Ooh, I slipped on a banana peel and fell in the toilet." You know,
yeah.
there was a layer of menace to them, I felt like. Don't you think?
I think so this time. Especially Gornish was delighting a little bit too much for well, not too much. When I watched it, I was just like, whoa, he is really excited about this. And I always think in the back of my head that like when an evil character delights at the potential of like the evil spirit or evil, the antagonist winning,
Hmm.
that do they really think they're going to be your friend? And that's what I thought the whole time, like when he's like, oh yes, I'm the biggest fan of the
Right.
night spirit.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, that's all great, but like if the night spirit does win and gain power, like are you its favorite?
Sure.
I don't know.
And
Like there are more Morags out there in the woods.
I was just gonna say that's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't need to get too deep in the woods on this, but exactly like what
Yeah.
about Morag? Like
Yeah.
it was weird that it wasn't like I don't know why he said night spirits instead of Morag. Just making this like a Morag thing, I think would have made more sense. But
Yeah.
whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, it's
There
I
was
think
there was imagery that I liked. I like when they were trapped in the them all being in the maze and like
mhm.
Nisa and Latara, coming after them. I thought was kind of cool, and I liked that Wicket was like feeling left out, and so he just like decided to be a brat and go after them. But
Yeah.
imagery wise, I liked the look of the maze. I really
Mhm.
liked the floating trees, like the whole like, oh no, we've reached the floating tree island. I thought that was kind of
I know, isn't that bizarre? Like
it
what?
was
Like
bizarre, yeah, but
what?
in a fun way. It was like
It could
eerie.
have
I
just
liked it.
easily have been water. Like I
Yeah,
thought, like, but he was like, "What if it wasn't water and it
yeah.
was
What
just
if it
the
was just floating trees?
sky?"
And Wicket,
I was like, "Okay,
I think Nisa dropped something at one point, and Wicket's like, no one's ever seen the bottom, and there was a
yeah,
real
yep."
like,
He
ooh,
drops a rock over, and
yeah.
they watch it, yeah, and it just
Now,
you're like, will you hear the kerplunk? And it's just
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's gone.
When the Dulocs catch up to them and they get everybody tied up and Wicket
Hmm.
breaks free and gets Nisa free, is he purposely not untying Paplu and Wichi because they're difficult, or is it he runs out of time? Because I kind of felt like he was
I
being
think
like, I
he
don't
runs
need.
out of.
Oh, do you? Okay, because I kind of
I
felt
think he
like he
runs out
was
of
saying
time.
like your
Paplu
energy is not helpful here.
Yeah, Paplu and Weechi are definitely like, all right, now untie us. Hey,
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what are you doing?
Come,
But I
come
mean,
back
if you
here and
look
get
at
her
it,
done.
they do pull away just as they jump aboard.
Yeah,
So I think it's he just unties
yeah,
the person that's next to him, and maybe you're probably right that maybe a little bit it's like I really don't feel like
yeah,
untying Paplu
yeah.
and
Yep,
Weechi right now. Like
yep.
I'll just untie Nisa, and we'll just go. And so yeah, I don't know. They do jump on, and as it's pulling away, I do remember that. So you know,
What was the other thing with the magic tree? Didn't they already have to save a magic tree once? Like in the soap episode, weren't they trying to
yeah, they saved the tree spirits.
they saved the tree spirits, right?
I don't know if they had
So
to save the tree of light, but they definitely
no, it
were
wasn't the
talking about
tree
the
of
tree.
light, but it was like we have to go save this tree. It's very
It
familiar.
was the
This
spirit
thing,
tree or the tree spirits, one of them. It almost seemed like there was like a group of trees,
yeah,
or like what we saw this episode, like, oh, okay, there is a one defined tree on the planet that, whatever its status is, reflects upon the rest of the planet.
this show to me just
So,
feels like they just grabbed a bunch of random people off the street. They just grabbed like like dentists and baseball coaches and teachers, and we're just like, yeah, I mean, you guys have all been around kids. Just make a cartoon about the Star Wars. And they were
yeah.
like, well, okay, I guess we could do that. Like that's what this feels like, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, make a Star Wars cartoon. All
Yeah.
right, how much Star Wars can we put in it? Literally none.
That's the
Oh, okay,
problem.
all right.
That's the
Well, I like a
problem.
challenge. Yeah.
It just doesn't. It just. I don't know. This was in some ways. This was like a new golden age of animation. Like 80s, 90s
Yeah.
cartoons was like where it was at. So I get why Star Wars was like, let's hop on that. But it just seems like you're Star Wars. Like you probably have the cash to hire some people who know how to make cartoons. I don't know.
Yeah, or
It's
maybe
just
this
weird.
was like the this was the best of the best at the time for Star
I don't.
Wars. You know,
Maybe it really doesn't seem like it. I don't know.
I think
It's
somebody was
just
related. Somebody
it's
knew
just a
somebody.
really flawed cartoon, and I think I'm not saying the second season is better or worse because I don't remember, but we
Hmm.
know the second season is basically a complete reboot. It was even called the
Yeah.
new Ewoks, so people are aware that this isn't working.
Hmm.
So
By now, they have to
yeah,
be aware
and so
by
they got to be thinking
now.
we got to get this ship, we got to write this. So I don't know, but
They
it's
definitely get
problematic now.
the bizarre magic in there, right? I think in this episode it necessarily wasn't like even the lantern itself showing them the way, because that kind of makes sense. A lantern showing
Yeah,
the way to the tree of light just was like a okay,
that
but
kind of felt to me was it Caravan of Courage where Logray had that weird spinny thing that showed them
yes, the
yeah,
top,
so there you go. So I mean there is kind of a
yeah.
connection there.
But it was the valley that made it like when it's like, ooh, the valley of floating trees, and it was like, all right, this one I really have to
Yeah.
bend my imagination to
Hmm.
kind of visualize like why trees.
Yeah.
Nobody's fashioned boats like tree boats
Yeah.
that can get across the island, or tree sailboats that can get
Right.
there quicker, or
I didn't
so
mind I didn't mind all the tree stuff because that how I mean they live in trees, there's tree spirits. They've kind of layered that in a little bit. So when it was the magic tree is guarded by floating magic trees, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever.
no,
Arbor Day.
yeah,
Let's
makes
Arbor
sense.
Day this bad boy.
Garbage.
There's trees everywhere. So I was okay with that. But I don't know. What was your Ichiwawa moment?
You know, this one was hard for me for like an Ichiwawa moment, because I feel like it wasn't. I don't know. I think my Ichiwawa moment was like the that it had to be that they were saving the planet. I was just like, whoa,
Okay.
what? Like, are you kidding me?
Hmm.
Like, to me that was like I mean, that was pretty big.
Yeah.
I kind of had to rewind it a few times. Like, wait a minute, did he say like all of Endor, not
Yeah.
like
That's yeah.
like this area?
Right. It's not like, oh, some nutrients from that tree will kill all the Ewoks. It was just complete and utter
It was, yeah, literally
destruction.
everyone else. Like, does anyone else know
Right.
about this?
I mean, it seems like the
That can
Dulocs would
help.
want to help. I don't know. Um, I
What
had a
about you?
couple. I had a couple, but they all kind of relate to the floating trees. I thought
Mm.
when they decide to make the oars and use the trees, kind of paddle the
Hmm.
tree across as a boat. I thought that was pretty clever. But I
Yeah.
think I have to give it to once the Dulocs smash the oars and they're stranded there. You kind of think well, it's just up to Wicket and
Yep.
Misa now. But then they take their packs off and they tie the blankets together to make the sail. I was like,
Yep.
okay, that's pretty clever. It's almost
That's
like a
that's a good
glider.
one. That's a
It's
good.
close,
Yeah.
but it's not. So I'm gonna give it to that.
That's a good one. I
Yeah,
do like that one.
yeah.
What about your Okavark moment,
Um, that
or
one's
your
a little
Lurdo
bit
moment?
harder. Wicked actually said Okavark in this episode when he was frustrated with them, and I was like, "Hey, catchphrase." There was one moment where when they're fighting in the cave, and Wicket keeps trying to tell them that the lantern was pointing the way the whole time.
Hmm.
The second or third time he says that, they're like, well, why didn't you tell us? And Wicket looks directly into the camera and makes this oh boy face, and they hold it for what felt like 30 seconds, and I was just like, next frame please. So
That's
that was
exactly
mine.
mine too.
Is it
That
really
was mine.
mugging
Where I
for the
was just
camera?
like, that for me was the why didn't you tell us the whole time? And he's like, you know,
Wah, wah,
like,
wah. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that was
that
a
one,
big moment.
that
That
was
was a
good.
big moment. Boy.
So,
Yeah, morals and lesson. I don't know.
okay, so this was my only qualm. Is that the right word? My only problem with this episode was that it seemed like they built a moral lesson of like, again, like working together,
Hmm.
right? It was so obvious that Wichi and Paplu just kept fighting, and I thought, okay, here we go. No, it's going to be like nobody's listening, or like even the smallest person can contribute something, right? You know, you got Wicket there going, hello.
Yeah.
You know, why don't we just follow the light, which is what we were told, you know? But they're like, oh no, I'm gonna go, you know, and so it's like they refused as leaders, you know, you get that like as a leader, you need to listen, right?
Yeah.
That's a good lesson. Or like working together, that's a good lesson. Or you know, even the most insignificant person that you think is not worthy to go on your trip,
Yeah,
can still contribute. So there was like a slew of.
I feel like this is one where like you can pull some things to apply, but I don't think there really is a moral or a message in this one, because I think it's just sort of another like another Caravan of Courage. So I don't really think there is one. I kind of thought that when Wicket wouldn't listen to them and followed them anyway, that he was gonna like cause some sort of problem, and we would have had sort of a you should have listened. But instead it was like, good thing none of you listened to your leadership, otherwise your whole world would have been destroyed.
Yeah, they're only encouraging it now. So, like kids are gonna watch this and be like, well, I don't know, my dad says don't run out in the road, but you know, I saw the latest
I don't want Endor
Ewok episode.
So Yub Nubs, how many of those?
I'm gonna go with like 3.8. You know, that the moral aspect and the fact that they kind of copied, you know, the whole Caravan of Courage again. Now this is what his third installment. Karoo.
Yeah.
You know, so we've seen Caravan of Courage. We saw the to save Deej, which is almost like Caravan of Courage. Now this again is just like, dude, like it's going to progressively get worse and worse, but they're still good episodes, right? Still way better than the Traveling Jindas, which is just like, what the frick?
I still hate that episode.
I know, I hate it.
I'm pretty much in agreement with you. Like, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of 3.8 kind of ratings, because I don't think it was as strong as To Save Deej, and just like the first two episodes, when it was sort of like we're revisiting a similar plot, and the second one, you know, kind of loses some steam because of that. I think it's a similar kind of deal.
Yeah.
But I still feel like it's a pretty strong episode. I enjoyed this one, whereas I hated Traveling Jindas.
Yeah, I agree. That one was. I can't believe that one. I wrote so much about that one too. You know, and now I'm going to look back and completely regret doing that.
It's funny that they made such a big deal about like Jindas never traveled back in the same place, because looking ahead, the next episode in the series is number 7, The Curse of the Jindas.
I know they're back. I didn't want to say it, but I was like, dang it. I saw them on the thing, and I was like, there's no way. They just said that they get lost forever. And like, here we go. Oh, so it could have been a matter of like a week and a half, you know?
Yeah. Maybe they never left. Maybe they just kind of like circled the block and were like, we're back, everyone.
Who wants entertainment for tips?
Yeah, I mean, if there's more Jindas, maybe we need to call Kendra. I don't know. She's kind of an expert on Jindas at this point.
Just torture her.
But here's the good news. Because the next episode of the series is number 7, The Curse of the Jindas. But before that, we've got a Halloween special coming up. So our next episode of This Endorian Life, we're going to be covering the 2021 Disney Plus special, Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales. And we'll be joined by our first returning guest, Sally Jacoby Murphy, a.k.a. the Queen of Halloween. So Sally's going to be here to talk Terrifying Tales. I'm excited. I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be
good to actually give her something spooky to, to teach us about.
All right. Well, then I'll see you for our Halloween special.
Awesome. I cannot wait.
So long, everybody.
Have a good one, everyone. This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. You can find more about this show and others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com. Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook or Twitter at Endorian Life. And please rate, subscribe, and share the show wherever you get your podcasts.
You lerdo.
You lerdo.